What does anthropology and psychiatry add to our understanding of China? If you think about it, China's been understood politically, economically, in terms of security issues. I think anthropology and the other social sciences and psychiatry and psychology bring society to the bear in terms of what's happening in Chinese society today. And I think there's an enormous number of changes that are happening. First of all, you have the building of a middle class. This may be one of the great stories in China today. You have somewhere around 330 million Chinese who earn between, as a household, $6,000 and $30,000 a year, which doesn't sound a lot from an American perspective, but is a lot from a Chinese perspective, and qualifies them in some way for a kind of middle-class existence. A middle class that didn't even exist at all under the era of radical Maoism, and is now accounts for something like a fourth or a fifth of Chinese society, and will continue to grow so that there will be more than a half a billion middle-class Chinese within 20 years. And that's an enormous change. That's a change with different demands on governance, on standards, on values. So I think that's one of the great stories, and that comes out of the social science story. And side by side with that is that group is aging. That's a story of China aging. A population that in 2050, a society that in 2050, close to 40% of all Chinese will be over 60 years of age. What will a society be like in which such a large proportion of people are older, and the elderly are one of the fastest growing groups, those over 80 years of age? That's an enormous set of questions. And then another set comes from the new generation of Chinese. And this is a generation unlike any Chinese we have seen before. This is a much better educated generation, much better connected, globally connected through the internet. This is a generation that has a different set of values than almost any set of Chinese who have preceded it as a generation. It's a generation that's much more individualistic, that doesn't hesitate to tell you that they're selfish, that is highly materialistic, but at the same time is aware of things like the problems of corruption, the problems of the environment, and wants to do things about it. Very responsive to people's suffering. So look at the outpouring of concern after the Wenchuan earthquake in Sichuan. This is a generation that's developing NGOs, huge number of NGOs, not the government organized NGOs, but these are actually illegal often, or at least not licensed or regulated NGOs. Large number coming out again of this young group that wants to make a difference, wants to produce some change. I think that's another example of what do we know about these groups. Much of what we know comes from studies by anthropologists, sociologists, psychologists, psychiatrists, and others in the quote-unquote human sciences. And I think this balances nicely the pictures we have from economics, politics, and security studies.